5 days. That's all that stood between thousands of Linqto customers and finally getting their money back. And then, at the last possible second, it all blew up. In a brand new sit-down with Jake Claver, the man who made XRP legal history, attorney John Deaton pulled back the curtain on one of the most frustrating stories in this entire space. And what he revealed is honestly jaw-dropping. According to Deaton, they were scheduled, done, ready to walk out of bankruptcy on a Monday. Customers were about to get their Ripple shares back. And then, in his words, at the 11th hour, Charles Schwab told Forge to walk away from the entire deal. Just like that. Gone. And I want you to know, I didn't just take his word for it. I pulled the court records myself, and they back him up completely. Schwab, Forge, the lawsuit, it's all real. But here's why you need to stay with me, because this is where most people get it dangerously wrong. Everyone's panicking that their money is gone. Deaton says the exact opposite, and the filings agree. Your shares are safe. This is about timing, not theft. There's a massive difference, and I'm going to show you both sides. And then it gets even bigger, because Jake Claver floated a theory in this interview that made me sit straight up. A theory about Ripple and a possible move on Circle that, if it's even half true, changes the entire board. So here's my promise to you tonight. I'm going to give you what these two said, attribute exactly who said what, separate hard fact from pure speculation, and tell you the one thing that actually matters for XRP holders right now. No hype, no fake numbers, just the truth, laid out clean. So if you've ever felt lied to in this space, this is the video for you. Stop scrolling. Let's get into it. Quick word from the heart before we start. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is a price promise. Everything I'm about to attribute, I'll tell you who said it, and I'll flag what's confirmed versus what's just a theory. Bankruptcy timelines shift, so treat any recovery numbers as estimates, not guarantees. Do your own research and never risk what you can't afford to lose. We're in this together. Let me set the table, because you need to know who's talking before you weigh what they say. If you don't know John Deaton, here's the short version, in his own telling to Jake Claver. He got into this space back in 2016. When the SEC sued Ripple and claimed the token itself was a security, he filed to intervene on behalf of everyday holders. Deaton said what started as around 12,000 holders grew into 75,000 XRP holders from 143 different countries. And the judge in the Ripple case, Judge Torres, actually cited the holder affidavit his team submitted. That's not hype. That's on the record. This is a man who earned the name the XRP lawyer. So when he talks about Linqto, it's worth listening carefully. And here's what he laid out. According to Deaton, Linqto customers were scheduled to exit bankruptcy on a specific Monday. Everything was lined up. And then, in his words, at the 11th hour, a company called Forge, which was set to manage the Customer Recovery Trust, got told to walk away by its new parent company, Charles Schwab, over what he described as vague regulatory concerns. Now, I never want you taking anybody's word as gospel, including a guest on a podcast. So I checked, and the court records confirm it. Bloomberg Law and multiple filings show that Linqto and its creditors committee actually sued Forge Global after it tried to withdraw as trustee just 5 days before the July 20th launch, citing demands from its new parent, Charles Schwab. So Deaton's version holds up. This really happened. The deal really got yanked at the last second. Here's my honest read on top of his. This is maddening, yes, but notice something. Deaton and the creditors didn't just accept it. They took Forge to court. And that tells you the fight to protect these customers is still very much alive. But the question you're actually asking is simpler and scarier. Is the money gone? Let's answer that head on. Okay, this is the part that matters most if you had funds on that platform. So let me be very precise about what's fact and what's fear. The fear going around is that the Schwab walkout means the money vanished. Deaton pushed back on that hard in the interview, and the court records agree with him. So let me separate the two cleanly. Here's what's confirmed. The underlying shares are still there. The bankruptcy estate holds stakes in roughly 111 private companies, valued at over $500 million. The recovery plan itself was approved back in February with around 95% customer support. And critically, multiple filings state plainly that the Forge dispute could delay asset transfers and raise legal costs. but it does not affect the validity of the shares. In plain English, this is a timing problem, not a theft problem. Deaton framed it the same way, and I'll attribute this directly to him. He said his belief is that customers will get what they're owed, and that even if Forge and Schwab draw a line, the team can go back to the judge and ask the court to compel Forge to honor its contract. His argument, and I'm quoting his logic here, is that bankruptcy law is federal law, and it can override state-level contract objections, even a right of first refusal. Now here's my job, to add the honest caveat Deaton himself added. He was refreshingly candid. He said, and I'm paraphrasing closely, "I don't want to give anyone false hope." He admitted he thought they'd be out of bankruptcy by the end of July, and before that, June. So the direction looks protective, but the timeline has slipped before, and it could slip again. Confirmed direction, uncertain timing. Hold both of those in your head at once. That's the truth, not the panic and not blind optimism. The truth. And that honesty matters even more when we get to the actual numbers, because this is where I have to add a warning. Let me walk through the figures Deaton gave, and I want to be crystal clear the entire time. These are his estimates, in a bankruptcy that's still moving. Not promises, not guarantees, estimates. First, his own stake. To his credit, Deaton disclosed his own skin in the game, so nobody could accuse him of speaking from the sidelines. He said he personally has around $495,000 of hard money on the platform, with Ripple as his largest position. He was upfront that he's not doing this purely out of charity. He's affected too. I actually respect that transparency. Then the recovery number everyone wants. Deaton said it's currently projected that customers take a haircut of around 8%. He noted it was supposed to be closer to 5%, and the added legal mess from this Schwab situation is part of what pushed it up. So his cautious estimate is that people recover about 92% of what they're owed. But here's the piece you cannot miss, and Deaton stressed it himself, so I'm attributing it straight to him. That 92% figure includes the upside, the appreciation of those private shares, not just your original cost basis. Those are two very different things. So please, do not hear 92% and assume it maps neatly onto the dollars you put in. Deaton was careful about that distinction, and I'm going to be careful about it too, because this is your money, and my caveat on top of his caveat. Every one of these numbers is a snapshot of a moving target. This case has already blown past multiple deadlines, so treat 8%, 92%, end of August, all of it, as Deaton's honest best guess on the day he spoke, not as a settled fact. If anyone clips this and tells you 92% is locked in, they're overselling it. Quick gut check, and I really want your answer below. Yes or no? Do you think the court ultimately forces Forge and Schwab to honor the deal and protect customers? Just type yes or no. I read every single one, and I want to feel where this community lands. Now for the part that made me sit up. The theory nobody saw coming. All right, here's where we shift from confirmed facts to speculation, and I'm going to label it that way the entire time, because that's the honest thing to do. In the interview, Jake Claver threw out a theory, and I want to be precise. This was Claver's idea, posed as a what-if, not a report. He asked Deaton whether there's any chance Ripple could acquire Circle, the company behind the USDC stablecoin. Now watch how carefully Deaton answered, because it matters. He didn't confirm it. What he said was that there had been a bid for Circle, and that the only thing Brad Garlinghouse said publicly was that he disputed offering $30 billion for it. And then Deaton made a sharp point. Garlinghouse denied the $30 billion number, but he didn't deny making an offer at all. So let me translate that responsibly. This is not news. Nobody announced Ripple is buying Circle. What we have is a public figure, Deaton, noting that a denial of one specific dollar figure is not the same as a denial that any offer existed. That's an interesting observation. It is not a done deal, and I won't let anyone in these comments turn it into one. Deaton and Claver then talked through why it would even make sense, and this part is genuinely fascinating as analysis. The reasoning went like this. Ripple is reportedly valued somewhere in the $40 to $50 billion range, and it holds an enormous amount of XRP on its balance sheet. So a company that strong could, in theory, be in a powerful position to make big acquisitions. Acquiring Circle, they mused, could be a way to pull in USDC and a stack of regulatory licenses. But I'm going to plant my flag right here. That is the thought experiment between two people who are honest that it's a thought experiment. File it under fascinating to watch, not confirmed to happen. So after all of that, what does this actually mean for you as an XRP holder? Let's land the plane. Let me bring it home and tell you the part that actually matters for your bags, because it's easy to get lost in the drama. Point number 1, and burn this in. The Linqto situation is not an XRP situation. I want to say that as clearly as I can. Linqto was a platform that gave people exposure to private Ripple equity. That's company shares, not the XRP token. Every serious filing on this says the same thing. This dispute does not affect XRP or the people who hold it. So if you hold XRP in your own wallet, this whole Schwab and Forge saga does not touch your coins. Don't let a scary headline about a bankruptcy make you panic sell an asset that isn't even involved. Point number 2, and this is the quietly bullish part. Look at who bought the Ripple shares that did get sold. Names like Galaxy Digital led a $130 million purchase of Ripple equity, even out of a distressed bankruptcy sale. Think about what that signals. Serious institutions are stepping in to buy Ripple ownership at these levels. That's not what fear looks like. That's smart money treating a messy situation as a buying opportunity. And this is exactly the world Ripple's own leadership, people like Stu Alderoty, keep pointing to. Not hype about price, but the steady reality that serious money wants a piece of this company and this technology. So here's the mindset I want to leave you with. There are two kinds of foundation in this space, the sandcastle and the concrete. Drama, rumors, scary headlines, those are sandcastles. They wash away by next week. But real court protections for customers, real institutions buying real equity, real utility being built, that's concrete. And the concrete keeps getting poured, even on the messy days. Do I have a price target for you? No, and I never will. Anyone who does is guessing. What I can tell you is that your XRP is not caught in this bankruptcy, and the smart money is still showing up. That's what matters. So let me bring it all the way home. Tonight we watched John Deaton, in his own words to Jake Claver, tell a frustrating but honest story. A deal that was 5 days from the finish line, blown up at the 11th hour by Schwab. Customers stuck waiting again. But underneath the frustration, the shares are still there. The fight is still in court. And Deaton believes the money is protected, even if the timing keeps slipping. We separated what's confirmed from what's feared. We labeled the circle talk as the theory it is. And we reminded ourselves of the one thing that matters most. Your XRP is not in this fight, and institutions are still buying Ripple on the dip. I know it's been a long, tiring road, especially for anyone caught in this. I feel it with you. But the direction hasn't changed. The pain doesn't last forever. It never does. We're early. The foundation is being poured. And I'd so much rather sit right here with you, sorting fact from fear together, than let a scary headline shake you out of something you understand better than most. So do your own research this week. Tune out the panic and come back tomorrow, because this story is still developing, and I'll be right here to walk you through every update. This is Crypto with BHW, where we tell it straight, with heart.